welcome to Born to be Cosmo, a regular, semi-irregular, irregular Marvel Snap podcast, where we talk about Marvel Snap, the game that has occupied our free time and our mental capacity, both in the most positive and sometimes dark ways. Uh, I'm joined by the two regulars. I don't even know what to call you guys. So I'm going to call you my good friends, Nate Wolf and Zombies. So it's been about a month since we last met and spoke about Snap. We have a lot to talk about. Some things that we predicted or anticipated was played out this month, this season, which has about a week left. It's a longer season. Usually seasons are 4 weeks because January being, just the way that the first Monday of the month and January having, 31 days and it was a 5 week season. It'll be interesting to see what happens with February if it'll be a 3 week season because
Oh,
Battle Pass not getting as much value. But we got a lot of value out of it this month.
yeah.
Um, but just to get caught up, I know that you guys have a lot going on, so I'm curious, Nate, how's your week this
Yeah,
week?
it's been a little bit crazy. We were just talking right before the show. I've been moving all day, so we've been staying at my parents' house, but moving into our new place this weekend. And so I got up at 7 this morning, been moving all day long, and it's really great to take a break to hang out for a little bit and talk. Looking forward to getting my new kind of setup, all dialed in and stuff. But yeah, no, it's been fine. I worked remote all week, and that was fine. Played a bunch of Snap on the iPad. Actually, it's been great because I think since we last spoke, or I don't know, I feel like I'm unlocking a new card like every other day or every day or something. I think I've unlocked probably 10 Pool 3 cards since we last talked. So
Nice.
I'm getting pretty close to finishing out the set, and that's like free to play, minus like the $5 bundle. But like I haven't pumped any money into it. So yeah, I've been doing good. I'm not like really ranking up because I'm trying to do my dailies just to get credits to power up the cards to get new cards. But like I'm
Hmm.
floating at like 65 right now.
Still
But
Nice.
pretty respectable.
it's been fun.
Zombies. How have you been?
Pretty good. This meta's definitely been interesting, and I'm excited to talk about that. I definitely took quite a bit of time off this month from streaming stuff because I did it like all last month, which was really great. But I think I enjoyed the meta a bit more last month than this month. I think that's definitely like been a contributing factor. But then life's just also been busier this month, so I'm hoping to get back on it with. I'm really excited for like the battle mode stuff coming out because I think it's gonna be nice to have a different way to play the game that's not just ladder. Because I think ladder and I know you're gonna be excited to talk about this, Blue. I think ladder can definitely be, you know, patience testing and a bit frustrating. It really reminds me a lot of the old school Hearthstone ladder way back when you had to grind like it felt like hundreds of games to like get to legend bobbing back and forth and I definitely felt that more this month in Snap than any other month before. I think part of it's players are just getting better at the game. People are learning when to snap, when not to snap, what decks are good, etc. So it's been an interesting season, and I'm excited to talk about it as we kind of wrap up the season and go into the first card downgrades and the other cool stuff that's going to be dropping in the patch in a few days.
Yeah, it's been a week. I know that we've all had a lot going on in our personal lives. For myself, I hit Infinite for the first time a week
Woohoo!
ago today. So I played a little bit less Snap this week, a little bit more casually, because we'll talk a little bit about that experience. But really happy that I was able to do it. You hit Infinite, I think the day prior. You hit it a week ago yesterday, and then NHL NJ fan, our good friend, hit it basically 12 hours after you, and then myself 12 hours after him. So we all kind of got it clustered within the same
Wow.
period. Yeah,
That's
the
awesome.
uh,
Congrats.
the the
Yeah.
the wild crew. One of our other friends kind of took a bit of a series of bad beats and is kind of bobbing around the high 80s, low 90s Waluigi time. While I'm certain that he could do it, we'll talk a little bit later about the latter experience. But you're quite right; it does remind me of early Hearthstone. It has, for better or worse, Ben Brode's fingerprints on it. I think in their game philosophy,
Yeah.
they want the top rank to mean something, but like, I mean, there's a fine line, and the climb took its toll on me. And I think what I gained an appreciation of this past week was kind of I did it, the burden was lifted, and I kind of was able to take a step back. Some of the other popular Snap Discords, like KM Best Discord, which is a pretty cool Snap Discord, just reading the messages of other people who are kind of like stuck in that kind of like 90s limbo. There's
Mhm.
another Snap gamer, streamer, content creator. His name is Empty Apartment. He's been basically on the 90s treadmill all week. He's been streaming every night. He's more of a YouTube content creator, but he's basically eschewed doing any YouTube, and he's just been like hitting ladder like hard every night, just trying to get there. And I recognize a lot of the emotions and frustrations that I'm seeing. Almost feels like a self-reflection of my experience. So it's really tough. So Nate, when I say like 60-65 is actually quite respectable, I mean it, because you read messages from a lot of people, and they're like, I'm hard stuck 40, I'm hard stuck 50, and these aren't like casuals. These are very engaged players that are on these high-end engage discords and have the same or even greater collection level as you. So I
Uh-huh.
actually, the way I see it is 60-70 is like if you want to think of it in terms of tiers, like there, in my experience, there were a couple of breakpoints. So 60-70 was like, I hit 60 the first time, I felt that was like an accomplishment, right? And then when I got to 80, that was the next kind of like, I couldn't get past 80. That was last month during the meta that you enjoyed more zombies. And
Hmm.
then hitting 90 was the next one, and then like freaking 97 to infinite was
Oof.
just it was hard. Those three ranks were harder than the rest combined. So they're like stairs. I think 60 is an important milestone, if you will, um, that these achievements should be celebrated. The other thing too is kind of just a fun thing. So maybe folks who are listening or watching don't know this, although they probably do. You made me a new profile picture about a week and a half ago. The Pikachu Thanos. Actually, you made it for me on the 9th. Which I don't probably shouldn't say this, but it's my birthday, so it was
Oh.
an
Ooh.
unknown birthday present from
Oh,
you
how
to me.
fun. Oh, very
Um,
good. Very good.
but I really like it, and I've been rocking it since. And I kind of went through this month, wasn't sure I was going to hit infinite. I did. The experience took a lot out of me. I don't think I'm going to do it again, or at least I'm not going to go after it as hard again because it's just not fun. Like genuinely, it's just it kind of I felt like the soul being sucked out of my eyes. But to go with the Thanos Pika profile, I got this guy pinned yesterday in my shop yesterday, Thanos.
Ooh.
So I'm
Hey.
I'm looking forward to picking him up in the next couple weeks. It says I only have 800 collection tokens, but I have about 30 collector's caches that I haven't opened yet. So I think that number is probably closer like 2 or 3 thousand.
I think
So
that's so smart, by the way, to wait until the cards drop pool level next week
right.
For
to
sure.
open. So yeah, that's I think good on you for doing that.
It doesn't really make a difference. I thought about it. Like, so let's say I opened all my caches, I'd get the tokens now, and then in the next caches, I'd get the cards. But I think that just being done with pool three, I may as well just get the pool three cards right away. I mean, I don't know if I'll use them, but it just there's just little point to opening them. But it doesn't actually give you any inherent advantage. It just means you'll finish pool 3 again like immediately and then go back to which I haven't experienced yet, the post pool 3 doldrums, because I've been saving up my chests as I finished pool 3. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Thanos. I like some Zoo. I like some Lockjaw. I have some ideas. I think it's good. I don't think it's the best. Unfortunately, the best kind of just craps all over it in the form of Darkhawk. But we'll see. We'll see what happens next month. But I don't think I'm gonna push as hard as I did. It really was a drag.
I've done it
Mhm.
before in, well, I've done it many times before in Hearthstone, where you're like, where I'll push for Legend with a deck that, like, I'm trying to make it work, and I'll just, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like, you know, force it and hit Legend with it, and then walk away being like, all right, I did it finally, and now I can go do something else. And, like, it wasn't very enjoyable, but I'm, like, happy to check it off my list, right? And I snap, I think between like getting to level 100 is huge, and then not having any like ranked floors or anything, so you can fall back. Like you have to play kind of very methodical and be very cautious about retreating. And I've been playing kind of fast and loose because I don't really care at the moment. I'm just trying to have fun. Uh, I, but I think if you're really going about it, like you're probably only getting progressing like 2 wins or 2 cubes or whatever, like at a time, maybe 4, depending. And I think the 8 cube is probably pretty rare, right? I mean, imagine the climb takes a long time.
I hit infinite off an 8 cuber. It was the most ridiculous game. I was playing against one of those, you know, Arnim Zola, Red Skull, like,
Mm,
Shuri decks, and I double Spider-Man them in the left and right lane, and the only one he
rude.
could play in was the middle. But he had his Red Skull in the middle, and he played his Arnim Zola, and I remember like at first I thought I lost, but I didn't because Drac guaranteed that I won. And then after I realized I won, I didn't realize that was the game to hit infinite, right? Because it was an 8 cuber. I wasn't even
Mhm.
paying attention to it, so it was a relief. But you are right. People are a lot more cautious and conservative, and I think that zombies you described the mindset to like climbing, I think the best. So I don't want to paraphrase you. I'll just let you describe it. But basically, it was the kind of like waiting for that opportunity is kind of how you described it. Maybe you can elaborate on that because I think it's actually very I think it's a good philosophy to follow, frankly. And I was applying that mindset, and I think
Mhm.
that's what ultimately got me over the hump, so to speak.
Yeah, so it's like really the thing with Snap that I think is very challenging for a lot of people is you're not just like learning the game, you're also learning like the Snap system is kind of its own little game within a game. And like Ben Brode's talked about before, you can be really good at winning, and if you're really bad at snapping, it kind of like evens out the same way someone could be really bad at winning, but they could be really good at snapping. Though that's usually a little bit less common of a combination because I think snapping's the harder thing to learn in the game. But the big things are like there's so much known information in the game that once you like play some of the popular decks or even just play against them enough, you kind of know what cards to expect from your opponent, like in any other card game. And then with that, you can kind of calculate your outs a lot easier. And the other big thing is just trying to figure out when your big kind of power swing or when you have like a lot of confidence that you're in a good position to like win the game and snapping before your opponent really has a chance to fully realize that. A big example, and this is like the simplest example, is if you're playing a Zabu deck and you have Zabu in your hand and you have, a 4 drop or two to follow up with, you should probably snap before you get that Zabu out there because with how the game, at least at the higher end, it seems has been developing so far, that's just kind of free cube equity because a lot of the times if they have it and you don't, you end up retreating the game. Not always, but I'd say more often than not. And there are a lot of mirrors. So that kind of also plays into it. But that's just like one example. It's really like knowing when your deck is about to do something powerful and getting that extra cube equity before your opponent realizes that and is like, all right, I should retreat.
Yeah, one thing that I changed up that got me through that last bottleneck from 97-100 was really just understanding like when the opponent snaps. So like the most common one was they snap on 3. Uh, we're having some household household emergencies here.
No, no, it's good.
I read your message, Nate.
Sorry.
I couldn't finish my thought.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
You
It's
see me like
hilarious.
looking around because I hear this like whoosh down the hall, and we've got wood floors but carpets, and the cat like pooped and then just like.
But they got the litter box in, right? It's not
Oh
like
yeah, oh
I
yeah.
was gonna
No,
say like if you need to go clean up, we can
no,
we
no,
can
no. I'm good. I'm good. It's just.
that's hilarious.
Sorry.
I heard no, it's fine. I heard some shuffling in the background, and then
Yeah.
so the context
Funny.
is funny. Um, anyways, as I was saying, knowing when to retreat was kind of the last real applicable skill that I wasn't doing properly that I think I remedied by the end. So like for example, if the opponent snaps on 3, right? My initial mindset was, well, it's turn 3. They can't possibly have their game plan realized. I'm going to stay in to see what they have. I'm going to make them call. And then sure enough, they'd slam Zabu and they'd run away with the game, and then I'd have to retreat on 2 instead of 4 and all that. So basically what happened was when the opponent snapped, rather than reacting, although I still do in a non-productive way, I would say, okay, if they're snapping, they likely have Zabu, they likely have a Zabu follow-up. Do I have the answer? And in my deck's case, the answer was either my own Zabu with Spider-Man and Absorbing Man, or my own Zabu with Shang-Chi. And if I had that, I'd be like, okay, I'll stay in, and then maybe even I'll get the confidence to snap back. If I don't, I'd get out right away. And so my losses were more mitigated, even though they could be bluffing. My experience is that, especially in that 90s bottleneck, if people are bluffing, they're doing it a statistically insignificant amount of time.
Yeah, I'd say
So
that's true.
because everyone's gone through this huge grind, they don't want they're playing very timidly or conservatively, and just reading the comments on the various discords, Twitter, etc. It seems that's a prevailing phenomenon. So knowing when to retreat was also really important, and it's tough. It's a very long climb, but we'll talk more about that after. Right now, I want to pivot a little bit to some news. There's a lot.
Can I ask one like noob question
Oh,
since I
sure.
have like more seasoned players here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you get boosters after each game, right? Like
Uh-huh.
win or loss, but does the number of boosters, does that change whether you win or lose or retreat or whatever?
It's game length, I think. If the game ends really quickly, you get
Hmm.
less, and if it goes out to the final turn, you get more. But I don't think you get more for like staying in versus retreating. I think it's just the number of turns. Like
Oh, one
it.
per turn. Okay. See,
Oh,
they
that
don't tell
makes a lot of
they,
sense.
they don't tell you this stuff, right? You just have to like pick it up as you go.
hmm
So, okay.
It's like
Well, now
season pass XP. They don't really ever explain that very well, but you do get like season pass XP
Playing
for
games.
playing the game. Yeah.
yeah, I've got so much now. I think I am almost at 80 or something. It's been awesome.
Yeah, that's up.
I got some really good variants from the season pass this time around.
Oh, that's nice. Mine has been
Anyways,
better than it was last time. Like I've gotten more credits and gold than boosters, whereas last month, like I got vast majority boosters. So I don't know if anything's actually changed. It probably hasn't, but my luck has changed and it has felt better.
nice, nice.
I
All
feel
right,
like,
news.
yeah, I feel like I've gotten more gold and credits too. Variants, no, I got fewer this month so far. Oh, there's still a week left.
hmm
But who knows? Yeah, they're very They've been pretty transparent about tweaking the numbers, and then there's always an uproar that follows. So I wonder if they're kind of just, it's hard to know if it's just variance or if there's actually things happening in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, so boosters aren't affected by win rate. They're affected by length in game. I didn't know that they were affected by length in game. So that's yeah, I learned something too. Um, it's quite interesting.
And you can't target them either. Like there used to be a trick where you could not upgrade a card and you'd have a better chance to get boosters for it, but they did away with that. And there's a very small modifier when you get a new card. If you play with like a card you just got, I think there's a slightly higher chance you'll get boosters for it, but that goes away like almost instantly. Someone, I think Snapzone did a longer testing and kind of showed the results, and it basically confirmed there's no way to currently like aim for boosters other than just you put a card in your deck and you hope you get some at the end.
Or
I
you
mean, the
play it.
boosters are gonna be one of the cards that is in your deck, right? So
True. Although I know a lot of people, myself included, have had like sometimes an annoying moment where you're like very close to being able to split a card and you play like a whole day with the deck and you just never get boosters for that card.
yeah.
It's one of those downside of RNG things.
Yeah. You can target Agatha boosters.
True. All right.
That is
Yep,
true.
that's true. That's true. Can't forget Agatha. I find it so interesting that, we know at least one, but I think there are quite a few players who play the game much more casually and basically just use Agatha as always having something to upgrade. Like I know Gasu does that, and I know a few other people do that too, and it's really interesting to see the different ways people like engage with like the collecting and upgrading aspect because like I really try and focus on certain cards to get the different split effects and that kind of stuff, but like some people just want the progression. It doesn't matter if they, split a card once or like enough to get like the inked or the gold.
On the subject of just mechanics that aren't well defined, is inked more rare than gold, or is gold more rare than inked for the splits?
Uh, so percentage wise, they're the same percent chance, which is 10%, but you get a chance to get the inked one first because the inked is after the fourth split. You have a chance. Then the split after that, it goes from just 10% to inked for 10% for ink and 10% for gold. So you have like 20% to get one of the two.
Okay, so
Hmm.
it's
Um,
they're not it's
They're
not
the same
10%.
rarity. It's just different. The gold one, you don't have a chance for it until one more split after your first chance at the inked one. That's basic. So it's like,
Huh.
I guess technically a bit more rare because like you have to split at least 5 times instead of 4 times. But it's in terms of
Jeez.
like rolling it, it's not that.
So do you have a
It's
20% chance to get one or the other, or is it a combined 10% chance?
no, it's 10% each. So 10% you
Okay,
get an inked, 10% you get a gold, and
cool.
then the other 80% is just like the normal splits with whatever variations.
Okay, interesting. I was just curious because I have 3 golds and 1 inked, so I was just wondering if it's just. See, there you go, variance again.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Ari says he's got no gold but 4 to 5 inkts. So
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of variance there. Like I got kind of lucky with my inks. I've gotten quite a few inks off of like the first possible split you can get, which is really nice because like I prefer the inks. So I that usually means I'm done splitting the card, which is nice because then I can move to another card. But then it gets a little annoying because you end up still accumulating all these boosters. Like I have like 400 or 500 Carnage boosters. I'm not sure I'm ever gonna upgrade a Carnage again. So it's
unless
like I wish I
they,
could transmute them or
yeah,
something.
maybe they put a feature in that lets you kind of set it to whatever border or variation that you previously unlocked, so you can keep
Be neat.
splitting. It sounds like that's like probably one of those low priority features that'll come,
I'd settle for
because
the magnet thing. Just having a way to target them would do a lot
mm,
of good. Because like sometimes I just want to like I would like to split my arrow and I need like 40 boosters, but it reminds me of the collection system. I don't know when I'm getting those 40 boosters. I know if I keep playing, I'll eventually get them, but I don't know if I'm gonna get them in the next hour or the next like 5 hours, and that's a little like frustrating. But it's kind of funny at the same time how it kind of mimics the collection system in that way.
They've got strong views on certain design aspects that don't seem to be going away, so kind of just have to embrace it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
speaking
true.
of changing their minds, so we have quite a few things in the news that are quite interesting, and they dovetail nicely to some of the previous conversations we've had. So the first thing in the news that I'd like to talk about, this is a bit older, but I think pretty relevant. So on the 19th of January, Marvel Snap announced that for players ending the Savage Land season at Infinite rank or above, we'll be sending you a special gold card back via your inbox. So this is an interesting about face because they used to give card backs for hitting Infinite until I think the last one was the Wakanda season with the
Yeah, it
spear.
was the was that the yeah, I guess that was the last Infinite card back one. I honestly forgot about it because I don't like that card back.
Yeah, I don't care for it either. And they started giving titles instead, like Herald of
Yeah,
Galactus or really
boo.
really dirty or whatever. And people, so here's the thing: people really don't like titles,
Yes.
because they're kind of a crummy reward by comparison to just about anything else. So this card back, I think, kind of was an interesting concession on their part. It also helps that like the Savage Land card back in general is I like it. I think it's really cool.
It's a good card back, yeah. And it's neat because I don't know if they mentioned this exactly, but there was like it sounded like they were also considering the fact that like they weren't sure if they wanted to have an original card back for hitting Infinite like every month. I don't know if that's not something like they feel it's like worth like making that many different card backs for, and or if it's something where you don't want players to feel like they're really missing out on something they won't be able to get again, because like that first season they had the neat like Venom Spiderweb card back. That's my favorite card back in the game, so I'd be like really pissed if not that a card back really matters, but like if I missed out on Infinite and or I started playing the game later and I saw that, I'd be like super miffed that I didn't have a chance to get that. I guess more
The
so
yeah, the Black
having
Spider-Man
played.
one. I wanted that one so
Yeah,
bad. I wanted
it's
it
like
so
my
bad, and I
favorite,
just
and I wonder if them doing this is kind of a compromise where they're like, yeah, we hear you and you want card backs, but maybe they don't always want it to be like an original, have to make a whole new card back for every season. And I think this is well, we also still get the title, so it's not even a and or in this case,
I
but
mean, this
I think
isn't
this is a nice compromise, like it gives something you can show off, but it's not like you're missing out on something super unique if you don't get it.
well, this isn't an original card back. This is a palette swap, for lack of better
Yeah,
description. So this is
that's
this
what
is
I mean. Yeah.
this card back is the card back you get on the paid track of the battle pass. It's not
Mhm.
gold. It looks a little different, but it's essentially the same design with like the claw coming through and doing the claw stuff. Um,
hmm.
First orange border on a card back, and I wonder how that's gonna work because I think how it works right now. Oh, hi, cat. um, I think how it works right now is it uses the border of whatever your card is in the game. So like if you have an infinite card, it shows the infinite. I wonder if that'll change where it'll just show the because we haven't had a colored border on a card back before. It's always just been like gray. And when you actually play the card, it's whatever rarity you have. So I wonder if that'll actually change or not.
it will be interesting to see. I know a lot of people are really pushing hard to hit infinite, to get this card back. KM Best, in his Discord, kind of like did a good reality check to some people who are like freaking out and saying like, guys, this is a digital card back in a digital card game, like and it's a palette swap on top of that, so like it's really not the end of the world one way or another. um that said, man, your cat is getting into all sorts of trouble, I guess. the, you know Unfamiliar surroundings, it takes time to get
Yeah.
used to it. That said, I kind of dig it. I was running this card back from the paid track anyhow because I like the aesthetic. I like the kind of the jungle kind of wild type of aesthetic. It's
It's a
probably
good
one.
one.
Yeah, it's
It's a
probably
good
one
one.
that I'll be rocking. But this is an important concession on the part of like, hey, we're gonna, we're giving you something in addition to that you requested. So even though this is really minor in the grand scheme of things, it augurs well that like, the feedback is being heard, if not always acted upon. Hey, so you got a week, guys, to hit infinite. It's super easy. You just gotta, lose your mind, play 6 hours a day,
By
eh,
Darkhawk.
buy Darkhawk. I did it without Darkhawk,
Yeah,
but I
it's
didn't,
true.
but I didn't do
You
it
don't
without
need it,
Zabu.
but oh man,
I mean, you
it's
don't need
rough.
it, but like, sure, it's like, it's like going to war with like a bolt rifle instead of like a semi-automatic. You don't need it to be semi-auto, but it'll maybe that's a bit of a morbid
Yeah,
analogy. All right,
kind of
so
accurate though.
yeah, well, going for infinite felt like going to war, or at least in a mind war, if anything else.
Yeah.
All right, so next up is the Festival Fireworks Jubilee bundle. A very well
Woohoo.
received bundle that includes the Jubilee variant. In my opinion, I think the best one.
It's
500
so good.
gold, 500 credits, 66 Jubilee boosters. I love that. 66 Jubilee. So arbitrary. And then the Jubilee avatar for $5 US or 450. I guess that's what, pounds or euro. I don't know
Yeah,
what that
yeah,
is.
I don't
I
know.
That
think it was like,
conversion's really weird to different
well,
different
it's not weird.
countries.
All it is, zombies, is it's whatever your local currency is converting to US. So like for
Isn't that
example,
exact though? Because I
yeah,
thought,
it
you know what it is? I
is.
think it's taxes that mess me up. Because I
Yeah,
think,
local
yeah,
taxes get
yeah.
applied on top of it. So yeah,
See, that doesn't happen in the U.S. one, or at least I haven't seen it for Snap.
the
I
the
don't know.
the taxes are like the insult to the injury that it's not localized pricing. So like for
Yeah,
example,
for sure.
this bundle is like seven something Canadian, and the $100 like pro bundle was 140 Canadian plus taxes. Like that came out to like 150 something dollars. Anyways, um, now, this bundle is something that's really awesome because, unlike the other bundles, which were quite costly and had dubious value propositions, you could kind of rationalize that, like, well, it's the same cost as what they're charging in game, but you're getting something extra. This genuinely, by proportion relative to the percentage, you're making out ahead on this. So, I don't remember who tweeted this. I tried to find it, I couldn't. But basically, the tweet said, "Hey guys, go out and buy this bundle, because in order for second dinner to make the equivalent amount of money off of the Jubilee bundle to say like the Savage Lands Dino bundle or the Pro bundle, they have to sell this at a rate of like 20 to 1. So
Yeah.
if they sell one of those rip-off bundles that we all hate, right? 20 people got to buy this to make an equivalency. So that there's this whole like economies of scale argument. Now that said, people shouldn't go out and buy it if they don't want it, but I think that it's fair to say that hopefully in the future there'll be more offerings like this, because this is
This was
kind of
an
hard to say no
incredible.
to.
It was such a
Mhm.
good deal. Like I've been, I mean, I've been avoiding the other ones because they were so cost prohibitive. But like for $5, how do you say no to it? Because you get the credits and the gold and the variant. Like it's I don't know. Like I snap bought it. Um,
Yeah. So you
no,
Snap
no
bought
pun
it.
intended, but
Uh,
but it was, the other ones when I look at like the dino one I was like, that's rad. Oh, it's
mhm.
$100 or $50 or whatever it was, and I was like, oh, nah, I'm not doing that. Like
Mhm.
where I have to do this kind of cost analysis, like is it worth, you know, do I want to pump that much money in? But when I look at this, like I don't even have to think twice about it. And so if I had to guess, I imagine they sold more just because of the price of it, but
Did
I don't
they
know.
did they do it 20 to 1? I mean, who knows?
Well, that's the thing. Who knows? Who knows?
But it certainly was welcome. I think it's in the store for one more week. If you're on the fence about it, certainly a good buy. I ended up buying the Dino bundle. I'm not too proud of myself. And do you know when I bought the Dino bundle?
What was that?
Literally 15 seconds before it was about to leave the shop. And of course
Last
I
minute
inflated
cave.
their FOMO metrics. So no, so the reason why I did it was because
You were trying to finish pool 3, right? Or was
no,
that
I
after
I
that?
had finished pool 3. So I just finished pool 3. I had just gotten infinite, and I was thinking about, well, what am I gonna do with the game next month? And, you know, had you'd asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I'd say I'm gonna grind infinite, of course, like, but
Hmm.
but that, I mean, maybe I will. I don't think I will, or at least I'm gonna take a lot more passive approach to it. But I'm like, no, I want to pick up Thanos, and I'm going to need a lot of collector's tokens. And he didn't even pop up in my shop, but I knew he would eventually because of how the shop rotation works. So I wanted to just get some extra collector's tokens. So the way I kind of rationalized it, and this is pure cope, guys. This is don't be like me. It's like, well, I'm going to spend the money on this anyways, so I may as well spend the same amount of money and get the cool dino because
That's how they get you.
I like the avatar and I like the art, even though I have one that I like probably better. It is a pretty decent dino. So I was gonna
It's
spend
a
that
good
anyway,
dino.
so I figured I may as well get the cool thing, and that was it. So it was an impulse purchase, although I don't ultimately regret it, but I'm gonna have to basically figure out how I'm gonna shuffle around my entertainment budget, because to your point, Nate, it's
So say, do you want to? You can just
cheap.
top ramen and snap.
No, I mean, look, I
I,
was gonna pre-order the new Magic the Gathering set on Arena. They kind of have like pre-order bundles, very similar to like what Hearthstone does. You get like a bunch of goodies. It's a good deal. I was gonna
yeah.
get that, and I think now I'm just gonna pass on it. Um, you know,
Hmm.
and that's that. So anyways, 20 to 1. Hopefully, I mean, look, I don't think anyone should change their behaviors because like it's not going to alter like things in the grand scheme of things, but I hope that they realize that having at least moderately or modest priced offerings at minimum at least buys them lots of goodwill.
Yeah, I think it's one of those there's also like an opportunity cost here of it paints like a different picture. Like I've and you could even kind of see this going on in, the different various like gaming news websites and all that stuff and social media where it paints like a pretty like negative picture of the game's monetization when you're only offering bundles like, I think one of the cheapest ones was like $30 or maybe maybe the Spider-Man one was the cheapest one at like $20, but that was mostly for skins, not even really you got a few credits but not many on top of it. It's just when almost all the things on offer are making a large percentage of the player base feel like hey that it reminds me of the phrase that the Magic like to throw around a bunch when it started introducing and that is, oh well, this bundle is not for you, and that's okay. But eventually, you have too many of these bundles that aren't for you, and you start asking the question of, well, if all this stuff isn't for me, is the game actually for me? Um, but it's like, and so like I think when they were offering all these expensive bundles, I think that's kind of a mentality you put on players over time. Because like I think the frustration comes from people liking the game and wanting to support the game financially, but not feeling like there are options that are like reasonable to do that. Because like you don't get a whole lot for what you're spending in terms of if you're trying to like progress your collection or whatever. Variants are kind of a bit of a different thing because you're paying more for the cosmetic. Like you brought up the Dino bundle. The Dino bundle didn't get you. The Dino Bundle was basically you saying, "Hey, I'm going to spend $50 on credits, and they're going to throw we'll throw a free skin in with it as like a bonus." But you weren't actually getting like more credits than you would if you just bought them for like the normal money amount. But the point is, I think having more of these bundles that are smaller and good value, like the welcome bundle, like this one, I think it makes players feel a lot better about supporting the game in like a small way. But like I would bet you that if they offered something like this monthly, people would eat it up. People would be like super stoked, and it would buy them a lot of good publicity because
Mm-hmm.
like everything else has been so expensive that because the value on this is really really good. Basically, for the price of what you'd pay you don't even get 500 you don't even get 500 gold for $5. You get 300 gold if you are just buying. I mean, if you buy the max amount of gold and you math it down, yeah, it's 500 gold for $5, but you're also getting the credits, you're getting boosters, you're getting the skin, the avatar. It's a lot of stuff for $5,
It's a
and
really good deal. Yeah.
I'd like to see them do more stuff like this, and I hope it is successful enough because, like, statistically, you know, and I'm glad you brought it up, Blue. The whole they have to sell like 20 of this to equal like what one of their pro bundle or whatever. And statistically, in mobile games, that's like really true. Where you'd think when you offer a thing that's a really good value but really cheap, the amount of people buying would make up for it. But a lot of the times it doesn't actually math out that way because the small percentage of whales is still a lot of people and a lot of people buying at those, so many prices. It usually is what makes more money, even though like sensibly you would think like, oh, more people will buy this and it'll make, a similar amount. So I hope it succeeds because I think this is great. And I think if we had more stuff like this, people wouldn't be really as upset when a $50+ bundle comes out that's just not a good value proposition for them. So I think it's important to have stuff at all different levels, because otherwise you make people feel like uh, the game's not really targeting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a conversation with Engine about that earlier, whereby, you know, the whole game economy kind of made him reluctant to even try the game, and
Yep.
it's understandable. All right, so
Yeah.
continuing on with the Lunar New Year celebration, we have an event. Basically, every day you log in, you get something new. It looks like it actually finishes today. And these rewards were, they're pretty good. 200 gold, 150 credits. You know,
Hey, free. I mean, how can you complain? I
yeah,
think
Yeah.
the
y-
price
Free
is
is for
right.
me,
yeah.
especially a variant. Like I think other than the Storm one, we got the Storm one, the launch one, and this is I guess the third just free variant they've given out, and it's really cool. Like I think login stuff like this is a really good thing for the game. It incentivizes people to like log in and play the game. People love
Yep.
free stuff. So it's
And
the only thing that sucks is they really, really need to get this non-early access PC client out because it's
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
like to me it's
brutal.
kind of inexcusable that PC players, if they don't have a phone that can run this or can't play on mobile for some reason, you just don't get to partake in the
I
event
would
stuff and
be
the free stuff. I think that's quite unfortunate.
As just an aside, I'd be really curious to know what percentage of people interact with the game almost exclusively via PC. I think
Probably
not that,
small.
yeah, it's probably, I only know one person. I think Yada is the only person who exclusively uses it on PC. Um,
Yeah, it's definitely a small part of the player population, but I see it come up like almost any time I do like a video about an event or something. The comments are always there about people like, "Oh, gee, this looks great. I wish I wasn't, a PC only player." And, who knows the various reasons why it's not accessible, but
Hmm.
those do come up, if someone has like an older phone or something like that.
yeah.
It might not work out, and it's a shame because like there's no good reason for it to be the case like that I can think of. Because like this client is basically it's like the same as the mobile one. It literally feels like the emulator, and I don't think BlueStacks does it, but I think some of the emulators you can use can let you do the mobile stuff. So if you are a PC only player,
BlueStacks lets you do it.
oh, it does. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Binks uses BlueStacks exclusively, and I saw him clicking through the things. So
Oh, it's good to know. I did not know that. I mentioned it somewhere before, but someone said it didn't work for them. But that was a while ago. But so now you know if you're a PC only player, you might want to check out BlueStacks or one of the emulators because we haven't really got an update on when the PC client is going to be like.
it's on the
We know
roadmap.
widescreens in the pipeline. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the roadmap. They want, and I wonder what that's gonna look like because I know you tried to get your stream set up the other day, Blue, to try it out, and you saw all the annoying stuff you have to fiddle with to make Snap appealing on a stream. Um, it's a handful with the current UI.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna be rendering it differently, kind of pull it out and scale it up. It'll be good for me because I can't see.
Oh snap!
Sorry, but it'll be good for visual accessibility, and I look forward to that. Just something else that I want to just kind of double click on. The free variants they've given us have been really good. Like that free
Yeah, I
storm,
have.
that's my favorite storm, and this
It's really
Swordmaster
good.
is the Swordmaster I use in my signature cow and dog deck, where like I have like the discard deck, which I am so disappointed how hard it's fallen off. That said,
Yeah, it's
I
sad.
still enjoy it. This is the variant that I use. It's such a great looking variant. And I like that the free stuff they give is premium. In Hearthstone, I never really used the free cosmetics they gave you in Constructed. I would say the ones that they gave in Battlegrounds were actually very nice, but these are some of the best variants of the card in class. So really nice Swordmaster. Get it before the event ends if you haven't. I mean,
Well,
free
I think
gold.
the time is past, right? Like these are daily login rewards. I'm pretty sure it was just a 24-hour window.
I'm gonna check on my phone because I'm pretty sure that they're up for the entirety of the event. But let me double
That
check
would be
because
good to know because I did
yeah,
not
I
know
don't
that.
want to give any false information, but I know there's like a lag on the expiry. So if I go to my inbox, no, interesting.
Yeah,
The day one reward, no, they have very, oh, they probably have expired already. Some of them say
yeah,
expires 1 week. Some of them have said it expires today. So I guess
Hmm.
it's
yeah.
already
So the
passed.
storm one was a little different because the storm one I think had a window of time because it was tied to that music video they released.
Hmm.
Whereas this one, I believe the login rewards are exclusive to the day. That's why like I was telling
Oof.
people the day it came out, like, hey, yeah, like even if you're busy, you should open Snap today and grab this. Um, because if you don't, if you didn't log in on that first day, I think you just don't get it.
Yeah, they're leaning
It's
into.
like a bit more than a day though, because like it goes live. I think it went live a little bit before the daily reset, and then it was a bit over 24 hours or something. But yeah, definitely leans into the FOMO stuff a bit there, but it also takes like what like 30 seconds to like open the app and click the thing.
They want you in there every day. That
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
is
it's so
clear.
clear with how the game is designed. Like it that I think that's in part why the progression's limited. They don't want what, me or you or what some of these other streamers may do. It's not their main goal, I don't think, to have someone sitting down and playing Marvel Snap for like 5 hours or something. Like
Ironically, if that's true, then they really need to change the ladder system. We'll talk about that more in a
yeah.
second. The last piece of news that I think is pertinent, and I almost glossed over this, so thanks guys for pointing it out, is that the series drop is going to be fast upon us, and I think
Hmm.
Yeah.
this is really important because this is going to really set the cadence of what we can expect in terms of card rotation. And by the looks of it, if they're adding one new card a week, then and they're going to do it
Hmm.
monthly, we were looking at like 4 to 5, dropping down every month. So this month, on the 31st, so in a few days, um, actually the patch is going to be released on the 31st. But do the cards drop that day, or is it when the season
Yeah.
resets?
I believe it's with the patch.
It's with the
I
patch. Okay,
believe when
so
they announced the patch that is
yeah,
coming with the patch.
yeah, it didn't seem like it was in line with how things typically. All right, so that's great. So basically next Tuesday, we're gonna have the drops. So Series 5 to Series 4, Super Skrull, Valkyrie, Shuri, Black Panther, and Bast. Pretty excited for Valkyrie to go to Series 4. That's probably my next card after Thanos.
She's
Um,
amazing and super fun, but it's kind of sad that there's so much ongoing now that I feel like she's worse than she was because
mm,
like she doesn't do very well into Darkhawk or other big ongoing things.
or
Because
Dinos.
yeah, Dino was always the biggest problem for Valkyrie, and now it feels like there's a better a better deck than Dino that's still bad for her, which is a little rough. But I love the card. It's a really sweet card.
So if for whatever reason you wanted to get that first edition cosmetic that's going to come to the game
Yes.
later, you need to purchase this before it drops from Series 5 to Series 4. A lot of people were saying, "Blue, why did you get Bast for 6,000 credits?" I'm like, "I wanted the first edition Bast."
Hmm.
I don't know how cool it will or won't be, but I also wanted to play with Bast like 3 weeks ago. That was my other reasoning for it. But if that's important to you, then that's something you'll do. Otherwise, it'll basically be half price starting next Tuesday night from 6,000 to 3,000. And dropping from Series 4 to Series 3, we have Luke Cage, Titania, Absorbing Man, and She-Hulk. Good cards that see play. She-Hulk and Absorbing Man are probably the more,
They're the
mainstays,
best pull for us right
but I,
now,
I
for sure.
see I see Titanian and Luke Cage in a number of decks.
Yeah.
And it'll be
Yeah,
nice to
they're
have
solid
those
cards.
cards be accessible in Series 3.
I'm excited because I have Absman pinned right now in my shop, and so
Mm.
It
they
will go
confirm.
down retroactively too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they confirmed that yeah, if you have it pinned, the price will change in store while you have it pinned. So that's great. I'm really excited about that.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's wonderful. She-Hulk and Absorbing Man are wonderful cards, and frankly, Shuri Bast are like very good Series 5 cards.
Yes.
And having those be more accessible in 4, I think, will be really important to allow people to compete with the power level of things that we're seeing. Um,
Hmm.
Shuri especially. Um, Bast is probably a little bit more niche, but the thing is
For
that
now.
for now, like we oftentimes say, like, oh, people aren't playing Zoo. People should play more Zoo. Oh, people should be playing Negative Surfer a little bit more. Bast is kind of the card that makes those strategies go from being whatever, to actually, oh, yeah, I just got like 12 power worth of stats by playing one energy. Like I believe
Yeah.
Bast is a she. She is
Hmm.
a very powerful card. So yeah, so downgrades, and then we could expect to see some more downgrades, probably going into March. And cards like Blackhawk will likely go down to Series 4, and
So they confirmed it's monthly. So we do know that every month there is going to be a rotation down, which is honestly a lot better than I thought we
mhm.
were gonna end up with. So the way they haven't rotated all the like the initial series fours down, but they took like basically I think it was about half of them or so. But they took the good half. Like She-Hulk and Absorbing Man are well above the pack of the rest of Series 4.
hmm
So it's nice that they aren't just kind of like hoarding those ones for a later date. They're just like, no, you can have these now, which is great because those are cards that should be more accessible given how good they are. And they also pick good Series 5 to rotate. I wonder though if we're going to how people are going to feel when some of the less good cards rotate down. Like a lot of the cards this month, I think many players, ourselves included, have been kind of overwhelmed or not overwhelmed, underwhelmed by like you mentioned Dazzler before we started. Like, oh yeah, Dazzler came out this week. Yeah, but nobody cares. um And it's true because of in part it's because of the accessibility stuff, but another part is I think this month's cards, just aside from the season pass card, who I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about,
Oh
the
yeah.
Series 5 cards that came out, they were kind of underwhelming this month, which isn't necessarily like a bad thing, but it also begs this question of like when when you make Series 5, when all cards enter Series 5 equally, and then you start releasing ones that aren't really as good as prior ones, it feels like it's discouraging experimentation in a way. Because like,
Mm.
why would people want to spend their resources if you're playing free to play or just getting the pass, and you get like 6,000 tokens in a month after you're finishing pool 3? You're not going to go spend that on Dazzler or Shauna when you could get Shuri or Darkhawk. And I think that's like kind of an unfortunate thing, because one thing I love about Snap is like people play all different kinds of decks, and I feel like when your resources are more limited, people are more likely to just say, "Hey, I'm gonna buy, I have my 6K tokens. I'm gonna buy Darkhawk because Darkhawk is proven, and it's also not gonna rotate as soon as some of the other ones because it's a little bit newer." But it's really this power level thing that I think is going to make people choose certain cards over others. And I think you're going to see less experimentation because of it, because people like tokens don't grow on trees. Like these tokens are kind of a pain to get.
Yeah.
So people have to be very conscious with their decisions, because if you aren't conscious with your decision, it feels like the game punishes you for it if you're trying to like climb higher.
Yeah, and to that end too, with the announcement of the series drops, they also basically flat out said Galactus and Thanos are going to be in Pool 5 forever, or at least for a very long time. Funny enough, zombies, you totally called that. You
Yeah.
called it right away, like these are never dropping from Pool 5. And I was like, well, why? What difference does it make? And you're like, nope, they're just not going to drop. And so I gotta give you credit on that. You totally called it. To that end, I think what a lot of people are doing now are saying, like, a lot of people were upset, like, oh, I spent 6,000 tokens on this card and now I could get it for 3. Like, there was a lot of bad feelings about that. I think the bad feelings stemmed from the fact that there wasn't really transparency about frequency and all that. Now we know that. So I think a lot of people are naturally going to pick up Galactus or Thanos because it's never going to trickle down. That's one of the
Mhm.
reasons that's motivating me to get Thanos. Because it's just a good quote investment with your tokens, whereas the other things you'll be able to eventually get for no tokens if you wait the 2 months.
Yeah, they'll
So
just pop up on the track.
yeah. Yeah, so anyways, the faster they rotate these cards down, the better.
For sure.
Um, Last piece of news, I don't even know if this qualifies as news, this just kind of blew me away, is someone completed the rewards track. So the reward,
Yeah.
when I say the rewards track, I don't mean on the battle pass, I mean the actual like main track. It goes up to collection level 22,372, and after you hit that peak, you can't climb anymore. As confirmed by one of the developers in the Snap Discord, one person hit that. That is less impressive. There was another milestone hit this week. Someone has collected all of the variants,
Mhm.
which I actually think probably cost more money than completing the rewards track. Both probably amount to 5 figures worth of money at a minimum.
So So we someone on the KM Best Discord did the math for the
Oh, really?
variance. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
little bit less than I thought, but basically it came out to, and I think this is if you're buying them all. Obviously, you're progressing, you're going to open some variants along the way. But I think the math that came out was like around, like, it was less than I thought, but it was still a ton. It was like $5,600 or something.
Well, that's it?
I'd have to look back at it, but they broke it down like quite a bit, and
I mean, look,
I
$5,600 is absolute madness, but I would have thought it would have been a lot more.
I would have thought, yeah, like me and a bunch of other people were like, oh, it's gotta be easy 5 figures, but like apparently it was more like halfway to 5 figures, which is still
Okay,
absurd.
well,
But but yeah,
well,
Still, mm, Wow.
I know it's a lot of money. But obviously, like who that reminds me of like the people who would try and get every single portrait in Mercs when like the game makes it actively harder for you to get them the more you get. Like it's like a whale trap, and like who needs every variant in the game? Like you're never gonna use them all. Some people just like collecting. You know, that's probably what this person's situation was. They had the income and they like collecting. Like
I mean, I
I
guess
like
if you
collecting
have the
stuff.
income, then why not? But
Nate,
like,
Nate,
wow.
Nate's a collector, and for those that are
Yeah,
listening, you should see the facial expressions and body language he's exhibiting right now. Nate does not approve of the money spent to get all
No,
of
well,
that.
okay, but
it's crazy.
I learned how to min max in Mercs. I have almost every portrait right now. I'm missing only I could count on probably one hand, maybe two, how many I'm missing. I'm super close to having everything, but you have to wait until they offer a bundle and you're guaranteed like the diamond and you know you're gonna get it. Um, but
Yeah.
but
Well,
with
that's
but
not the whale trap I mean. Like the real
but
whale trap is the
oh, like
the
buying packs? Oh, for
yeah, that's
heavens,
what I mean.
absolutely
I
not.
know
Yeah.
people who did that and it's crazy. Like I know people who spent, you know, greater than four figures on releases buying packs and they didn't get everything. Like because the system like actively works against you. The more stuff you get, the more likely you're kind of not to get the thing you're looking for. A lot of the time, because I don't want to get too much into the details because it's kind of off topic, but it just reminded me a lot of that because like it just siphons like the big whales and it just reminded me of the snap variants aren't cheap. They're like the
No.
regular ones are like $10. Like that's pretty expensive for a I think most it's like commonly agreed that the snap variants are pretty expensive by a lot of the player base. So I think it's crazy to see. Like I know the variant thing seemed a bit crazier, but like to me, the real crazy thing was seeing someone completed the track. Like
Yeah.
20. Like I know people who ultra whale this game, and they're at like 12,000. How do you have like double that? Like I just it
Probably
doesn't compute.
they put
It's
max in
Well,
every
crazy.
day since the beta
They've
started.
been doing it in beta. Yeah, they have to have been doing it since beta. No
did you
question about
see
that.
Educated Collins is at rank 400 something?
Yeah, Collins is nuts. He's
Like
really good.
Yeah, I
But
guess.
infinite times 4?
And guess what
Like
yeah,
deck? Guess what deck he did it with?
oh,
uh,
Darkhawk probably.
it's so funny. He runs a slightly different version than a lot of other people do, and I like to pop into his stream because he's a good player, and I feel like I learn things. And he the most common question he gets is it's always about the Scarlet Witch. He runs Scarlet Witch, and not a lot of other decks really run Scarlet Witch right now. Like sometimes the Copium Sarah deck runs it, but most other decks don't really run Scarlet Witch, and it always comes up like you see it like every 10 minutes, like a new person pops in and is like, why do you have Scarlet Witch in here?
Scarlet
And
Witch is a good card.
yeah, no, she is. It's just funny like how people react
Why?
to
Why does
like
he run it? Is he? What is he target?
it's
I guess
just
what is he targeting specifically? I'm
so,
just
so
curious.
the idea is it helps you like scam a win out of nowhere with some of the different locations. And it can also just get rid of bad locations for you. And I think that's a pretty reasonable reason to run it. Like
That's why you run it in
um
Copium Sarah. You don't ever play it on curve. You basically run it
no, yeah.
to kill dream dimensions, so your Sarah won't cost 6 on 5, and use it to like steal a win off Death's Domain or Limbo
Exactly,
or
that kind of
whatever.
stuff.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's good. Like I mean, I've been playing Copium Sarah almost exclusively since I hit Infinite, and Scarlet Witch is it's a
You know
really
what he
good
said
card.
about it that I think really resonated with me was but he said you want to have a certain amount of cards in your deck that can kind of steal a game, and I think this is like really true with climbing. You're gonna have a much better time climbing if you can surprise your opponent at the very end of a game, or like late in the game, and they just don't see it coming. Because that's how you get those like 4 or 8 cube
Yeah.
wins.
Mhm.
Is like when your opponent kind of has what's going on figured out, and then you just throw a wrench in it with like a surprise element they weren't expecting. And that was pretty much his justification for Scarlet Witch. And I think it made a lot of sense because like getting those 4 or 8 cube wins will really propel you up the ladder all that much faster. And I mean, we can see it's true for him. He's like, I think he's number 1 NA
He
right
must
now.
be. He
Yeah.
must be. It's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely
can't
wild.
imagine.
All
I
right.
can't
Well,
imagine doing that.
speaking of surprises and climbing, so we mentioned it earlier, zombies that you got infinite on
Hmm.
the 20th. So that was a week ago yesterday on Friday. So congrats. And I do want to talk a little bit about the meta and mindset, but I wanted to just kind of review the decks that we've been playing because I think that would like be a nice lead-in. So I have it up on the screen here. For those that are listening and maybe not watching on YouTube or Twitch, basically it is a variation of Zabu Darkhawk. But
Hmm.
to your point, you do have a few of those surprise, cards in there. So why don't you take us through the deck and, a little bit of the game plan and why you think this is
Yeah.
a good choice.
So yeah, I used a Darkhawk deck to get there. Honestly, this climbing this season sucked. I was not really a fan of climbing this season. And we'll talk about that when we talk about. Here, maybe you can put this image up when we get to talking about Zabu Blue, because I posted a good little meme about the meta and
I
it kind
have
of
I have
popped
it.
off.
I have it
Oh,
in.
great.
It's teed up, ready to go. So
Oh, I love it.
yeah.
Great minds. So the deck, it's basically just a Darkhawk deck, but we try and fit Sunspot and She-Hulk. I really like this because you're already running Moon Girl to double up on your powerful stuff, whether that be double Darkhawk, double Shang-Chi, or Rock Slides. White Queen, like the free-to-play Queen, as she goes by. This card's kind of nuts. Like if you're trying to play Zabu, and especially if you don't have Darkhawk, but even if you do, like White Queen should just be in your deck. Card is kind of ridiculous. Like, especially if you're missing some of these more powerful cards, you can just kind of nab it from the opponent, and it gives you good information and good stats or cost. Like, but it's really just like a lot of good cards. I have Shuri in here. I'm not entirely sure that Shuri's necessary in the deck. It was neat to do some Shuri She-Hulk stuff. The absolute kind of like the nuts with this deck is when you're able to pass turn 5 with the Sunspot after playing Moon Girl on 4, and then you can play She-Hulk, She-Hulk, and 2 4-drops on the final turn. And it's
So
really
stupid.
hard for somebody to beat that. It is that I ran into it a few times, and that's what made me want to like try it because like it was different than the other Darkhawks I saw,
This
and
is why when people snap on 3, unless I have the answers in hand, I just get out because if I don't, then it's like, you get just swamped and you're like,
it
why didn't I
snowballs
retreat?
really fast.
Yeah.
And the rock cards are so much better now with Darkhawk. Like nobody was running Korg or Rock Slide before, and
The
the
rock cards
reason
so tilting. Every
like
game's subterranean. So
yeah,
tilting.
like the rock cards were never terrible cards, but the issue was they were like relatively standard or mediocre stats for an effect you weren't guaranteed to like actually have an impact in your game. And they also got worse the longer the game went on, right? Like playing Korg on 1 versus playing Korg on 5, the odds of them getting that rock are a lot lower. Whereas Iceman was always kind of the pick because Iceman does the same thing no matter what turn you play him on.
Yeah.
So but they got so much better because now there's a payoff for making their deck bigger, and that's really all they needed. Like the now you get the bonus of the disruption while also like juicing your win con. The Darkhawk's kind of a silly card. I think it was a fine card at 4 mana before Zabu existed. Like I bought Darkhawk like a week before Zabu came out, and it felt powerful and kind of fun, but like it wasn't. It didn't really feel as like crazy to me as it feels now, and the simple reason for that is because you actually had to pay 4 mana for it instead of 2. It turns out when you cut a card's cost in half, it becomes a lot better.
Yeah,
And people compare it to Dino a lot, right? Like I know Safety Blade put out a funny little thing today, like a mock patch notes, like what
yeah.
he would do, and I thought it was really neat. And one of the things he mentioned was like Darkhawk at 5 because it's a very similar effect to Dinosaur and the other guy whose name I always forget, the one from Guardians of the Galaxy, who gets bigger for your opponent's hand.
Ronan.
Ronan,
I
that
just
one.
saw the movie, so it's all kind of
Oh, there
like
you go. So those are both 5 cost cards, and they do a very similar thing. Darkhawk is just the deck instead of like your hand or the opponent's hand, and I don't think that would have been necessary before, but now with Zabu, I think it might kind of be, and I think that's saying a lot more about Zabu
Oh,
than Darkhawk.
yeah,
You
there
know?
was this copium, what I call copium Sarah, which is like control Saras. This is like a Sarah deck that doesn't run Silver Surfer and reactive cards. There's someone who hit like 130 infinite playing like Zabu
Hmm.
and Drax. Like, I mean, if Drax is gonna make it into your reactive control deck, right? I, Zabu is the gas, right? People complain about
Yeah,
Darkhawk because Darkhawk is that pool 5 card that
they
you're
can't
gonna
play with,
struggle to get.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but Zabu is really the catalyst here. And I think the other thing
hundred
that's worth
percent.
mentioning in this deck is another trend that really kind of came to prominence this month, is the Sunspot armor.
Hmm.
Sunspot has kind of solidified. It was always good, but now because of various enabling mechanics and just kind of the scale, it's probably the most premium one drop in the game, and its play rate has increased considerably. It's very very good, especially in these Zabu decks where your play patterns will often look like turn one
You're
play
passing a
Sunspot,
lot, right?
turn 2
Like,
pass, turn 3
Hmm.
plays Abu. So even the worst case scenario, if you have him on turn 1, he's 1 for 3, which is a premium statted 1 drop. The only
hmm
1 drops that see a lot of play that have 1/3 stat lines is 0, which is very strong because it has a good effect,
hmm
and Blade, which,
you don't see
I
much of
mean, well,
anymore.
you
But
don't see
like,
much
he's good in
discard.
discard,
Yeah.
but discard, unfortunately, it's a shame.
Cerebro 3.
Yeah, it's a shame to see like I feel like there's a much bigger gap between the best of the best decks right now than there was last meta. I think that's why I don't enjoy it quite as much because
Yeah.
like if I'm playing to win, I'm almost certainly on a Zavu list or maybe Surfer or one other deck. But if I want to have like an easy time winning games, I should just play the Zabu Darkhawk deck. Like it is just the power spike you get from the card is so ridiculous. And then the deck can kind of just work when you don't get it. It's not functioning, nearly as powerfully, but we talked about it before the card came out. And, yeah, the high roll might be good, but how good is it when you don't high roll? And it turns out it's kind of just good enough to where you're not losing every game where you don't draw Zabu. Now, mirrors can make that a little more
You're
complicated.
probably retreating most games. You don't get it because everyone's snapping on turn 3. You're not
Well,
going to play it
yeah,
unless you have it,
that's
but
the issue is
yeah.
the mirrors, right? And I think mirrors are what make Zabu really toxic, and those were a huge part of my climb.
Yep.
So much of my climb was versus other Zabu Darkhawk decks, and it was so annoying because like I don't feel like I'm playing particularly better or worse than my opponents. I feel like the game is much more decided by draw RNG, which feels really bad. Like I think we're all kind of cool with the RNG of the locations because that's kind of like what makes the game varied and interesting. But when it reminds me of like old school Prince Kalaseth, where it's like,
Mm.
oh, did I draw Kalaseth onto? Oh, there's a really good chance I'm gonna win this game. And that's kind of like the Zabu energy, and it's so toxic in mirror matches because like if your opponent gets their Zabu and you do not get yours, you're playing checkers and they're playing chess. Like it's a different ball game, and uh, I think that's true for even the more budget versions of Zabu. Like this is a play experience universal to the card, not necessarily just these Darkhawk builds. But Darkhawk build is also really pushed out. There's so much Shang-Chi. Like Shang-Chi, in my opinion, has overtaken Cosmo as the most popular tech card in the game. Like I used to be like, oh, we only lose if they have Shang-Chi. Now it's like Leader used to be. It's like they have Shang-Chi. They always have Shang-Chi. You gotta, that's why we have the armor, because like you gotta, but you also have to be careful with it because we have a Shang-Chi. So like if we want to get value out of it, you got to be kind of selective about where and when you play the armor, so you don't get yourself and whatnot. Now, you could also put the Absorbing Man combo in the deck. Like, you could just act Shuri. Shuri's good, but not always needed. But sometimes she's really nice to play for 2 and just double up one of your 6s or double up your Moon Girl, or even Spider-Man. But Moon Girl, I think, is honestly probably the biggest, like, you know, sleeper card in the deck. Moon Girl enables so much ridiculous stuff with Zabu. It's kind of absurd because, like, I feel like Snap is in part balanced around the fact that you only get one copy of your cards. That's why when
Yeah.
you get those locations that are like, oh, you get another copy of your card, those games are always kind of nuts. And it's always a lot of fun. Well, like Moon Girl, just and with Zabu being 2 cost, like she just lets you do that in regular games. Like, I didn't run Absorbing Man because most of the time, if I just had a Spider-Man, I'd Moon Girl it on turn 4, and then I didn't need the Absorbing Man. I just had 2 Spider-Man.
Having it cost 2 and having the cards that it duplicates cost 2 is just that multiplicative effect is just absolutely
It's so
ridiculous.
nuts. It's
So
really, I
this
think, one of the strongest interactions with the card
Yeah,
is
so
Moon
this
Girl.
this is the deck. If you want to climb, you play Zabu, you play Darkhawk, and you build around it. There are other versions that run Dino, some run Mystique.
Hmm.
Frankly, it doesn't matter unless the core is just Zabu, Darkhawk, the rock cards, and you're good to go. So what
Hmm.
is one to do if they don't have Darkhawk? Well, you can try something that I tried, which is basically a variation of these Zabu Dracula decks that have been going around. I played quite a few different iterations of this deck and settled on the 12 cards I have here. So basically, much like the Zombies game plan, early Sunspot, followed by Zabu on curve, and then you play a combination of Jubilee and Dracula, um, or Lady Sif to follow up to try to cheat out big guys or to basically threaten people with big guys via Dracula. Then we have Ghost Rider, a 4-drop that becomes 2, another huge enabler by Zabu, absolutely nuts. And then Spider-Man Absorbing Man for the famous double Spider-Man lockout on turn 5. Also, you can lock out one lane successively on turn 4 and turn 5 by layering Spider-Man and Absorbing Man.
Hmm.
And then we've got Giganto, America Chavez, and Infinite on the top. Interestingly enough, some of the decks like Zombies are also running Chavez because it just increases your chance of getting Zabu on 3, which is
Hmm.
objectively essential. Originally, I wasn't playing Sunspot, and I was running Magneto in Sunspot's
Hmm.
place. Then Tian Ding published some decks about a week and change ago. We'll look at those in a sec. And it was very similar to this, except he was running Sunspot over Magneto and Enchantress over Absorbing Man. I didn't run Enchantress for long. I really feel that Absorbing Man in this deck was really strong. Most of my wins were from the double Spider-Man or the Shang-Chi, right? The reactive kind of surprise stuff. Like people so this is how a game would typically play out. Guy snaps on me on turn 3. Okay, I have Zabu, I have Spider-Man, I have Absorbing Man. So I stay in. They play Zabu, I play Zabu. It's turn 3. Turn 4, they'll play their setup, as will I. And then on 5, I lay down the double Spider-Man, Absorbing Man, locking them out so they can't play their payoffs like they're copied Darkhawks from Moon Girl or the She-Hulks that were discounted, that sort of thing. And then they either retreat or they stay in and they get a nasty loss. Or I'd have Shang-Chi and I'd be able to play a lot of my own powerful cards, like I could Ghost Rider out an Infinite, and then Shang-Chi their Darkhawk, kind of having a big power spike. That's how games were won off the back of people staying in, off of those reactive cards. Very rarely did you ever just win a game straight up by just playing bigger men than they. I would say
Hmm.
that most games today are not decided on pure stats. It's really decided on a combination of can you match stats and then disrupt your opponents? So this deck does that quite well. And the nice thing about this deck is that it's a pool, well, it has Zabu in it, Battle Pass card. It only has one pool 4 card, Absorbing Man. Even then, it was a preference. I think most people ran other cards in that slot. But
Mhm.
you know, I mean, it's
He'll be pool 3 in a few days too.
yeah. So this is a pool 3-ish deck that can compete with Zombies deck. It was the only deck that I played this season that could go toe to toe with Darkhawk. Silver Surfer, people say it's still the best deck in the game. Maybe it is. My experience is that unless you can effectively disrupt them with Cosmo and Rogue, you're going to lose because
Mm-hmm.
Silver Surfer just doesn't represent as many stats as the Zabu decks do, whether it's the one I'm showing here or the one that Zombie showed. And frankly, you said it best. Like Cosmo is still a good card and it will come back, but right now Shang-Chi is the main disruptor. There were some people who were memeing. They were playing Silver Surfer, but they cut Cosmo and they put freaking Shang-Chi in it. Like no Zabu, no nothing. Just dropped Shang-Chi in their Silver Surfer deck. Totally fish out of water, but like that's what it takes to stay in. So you know, just really quickly, I don't want to focus too much on this, but the climb made a wreck out of me. It stressed me out. The games were super sweaty and intense. It was just a very difficult experience, and you know, it required very lengthy play sessions. Like I had one day, I played 140 games
Oof.
plus 15 cubes.
Oof.
Wow.
Yeah, that's misery.
Now, so I thought that was bad. After
Mhm.
going on the Discords, there are people who play 200 games a day and have like minus 60 cubes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the
It's
number
rough.
of games that it takes to hit infinite is a
It's a
lot.
lot. Hmm.
And there are people who'll be like, well, you know, I'm climbing at a pretty good clip right now. I will tell you that once you get right to the end, that 95 to 100 bottleneck is going to take more games than the rest combined. I,
It definitely can. It definitely can.
so hand to God, never again. At least never again to the extent that I'm going to explicitly target it, right? It
Yeah,
just
if it happens, it happens. But like, I think that's a better mentality for a lot of players to have. And it kind of sucks because, like, everyone wants the rewards and whatnot. And like, you want to feel more than the rewards. The rewards are just the carrot. Like, you want to feel like you're progressing. And right now, there's not a great way to feel that because your progression is relatively limited per day. So they want to feel like I'm improving, or that it's just a natural feeling people want. And the I think the big thing about Snap that I think a lot of people are not gonna like expect going into the ladder is this game punishes you for tilting harder than any other game, and it's not even remotely close.
for
Like
those
I
of
think
us who tilt.
it's really bad. Like
Yeah,
that's what
it is.
the example you brought up where someone plays like 200 games is a lot. And if you're ending negative, it feels so bad because you invested all this time. And it's like, not only am I not close to my goal, I'm actively farther away from it.
Yeah.
And like there is like a period of like 2 to 3 days this month where I couldn't win a game to save my life. It didn't matter what I played. I was playing the best decks in the game. They were decks I was familiar with. Like I was facing stuff I was also familiar with. Like there wasn't an unexpected element, and I was getting like 20 to 30% win rate over like decently long sessions. That,
Oof.
that has never happened to me like for that long in a row. Like I've had off days on Snap, but never like it lasted like 2 or 3 days, and I was like, and it was before I hit Infinite. And I was losing my.
Oh snap!
This game can be really really frustrating if you get tilted, and then you start to bleed cubes faster because it's kind of just like real gambling. You want to get back to, you want to at least break even, right? Like if I'm down 10 cubes for the day, I'd like to break even before I sign off for the night.
Yep.
Well, maybe you do, but maybe you continue to spiral and you drop another 10 cubes, and then you're even deeper in the metaphorical hole. So it's you got to be really aware of when like you're letting your emotions get the better of you rather than like I don't know like how you normally think when you're playing. And sometimes it's just that's why I like streams because I want to keep playing the game and I know I shouldn't. So that's we did a bunch of co-ops and stuff too. That was a lot of fun. That's a great way to like engage with the game without actually having to be the pilot. But even just watching streams, that's what I do when I've had like a rough time on the ladder. I'll just watch someone else play because like it's kind of like that with Hearthstone too, where it's like I'm a lot less personally invested watching somebody else win or lose than when I win or lose.
Of
I think it
course.
helps take the edge off a little bit because it this is the first month I felt ladder was like legitimately stressful, and I think it's because people are getting better at the game,
Well,
and also
yeah.
because the meta's like very polarizing
So
right
last
now.
month, I mean, if you look at like NHL and like we couldn't effectively compete on ladder last month. Like I only got brewed for Silver Surfer the last like Christmas break, right?
Yeah,
So,
Brood's a make or break card for Surfer. It's
so a lot
crazy.
of people this month for the first time had the goods to actually compete. Um, and NHL made a couple suggestions to maybe make ladder a little bit more forgiving, and I kind of like it.
Hmm.
Rank floors. I think that's a no-brainer at this point. Like not having rank floors kind of sucks.
It
And
does. It
10,
does.
10, 10 cubes per like so you start a game, goes 1, 2, 4, 8, right? So you've got that kind of like sequencing of numbers. Well, wouldn't it be nice if you had 8 cubes per rank instead of 10? So
That's a
this
good
way
point.
it kind of compresses the ladder a little bit. It also means if you win a big 8 cuber, a lot more rare than they used to be, you're guaranteed to go up a full rank. I don't know,
Hmm.
just something like that.
I like that. That's a I wouldn't have thought of that, but that's a neat little idea. I have like a little theory about why they might not rush to like improve the ladder, even though they have. I think they've openly said, like someone asked, "Are you happy with the amount of people like currently making it to infinite?" And they're basically just like, "No, we'd like it to be a bit more accessible." Like right now, so I think they know it's kind of difficult, and I think it's only getting more difficult as the player base gets better and gets more cards. But I think part of the reason we won't see that immediately is because I don't think they want to make Infinite more accessible until there's something to kind of go for at Infinite. Like right now, if you hit Infinite, basically the nice thing about it is you have a ranked floor at
Yeah.
100 and there's no incentive to climb. I guess there's technically a small incentive this month because they're doing that event thing where the top 10 people get like some title or something. But most players aren't going to care about that. Most players probably don't even know that exists.
I didn't.
And you have to play an absurd amount, like to even have a chance at that. But the point being, um, I lost my train of thought. Um,
Ladder
uh,
is very
Oh, yeah,
inaccessible.
no, there's nothing to do at Infinite, so I think they're gonna wait until they have some kind of functional, like a legend system where it gives you a rank, like a numbered rank, or I think they're gonna wait till they have something you can climb in Infinite rather than just this arbitrary number that doesn't mean anything. Like you brought up Collins before, and he as like the number one ranked player on NA has straight up said like the ladder doesn't mean anything right now. Like once you hit 100 like it doesn't really matter.
Oh yeah, it doesn't mean
Um,
anything. You told me that during my 97 to 100 climb, I probably would have put my fist through the wall. So,
no,
yeah,
it's true though. Like at a certain point, it's like there's no, and also like once you get really good at the game, you start running into bots more often because you just have less people in your MMR range, which
yeah,
like
that's
I've
true.
seen him run into that quite a bit. And but I think it makes sense. I think they're going to make the climb better, and I really like that 8 cube suggestion though. I think they're going to make it better, but not until they like have something for people to do once they hit infinite, or like some other minute goal to strive towards.
A bit of a rabbit hole, but one that I've been kind of itching to really talk about. But before we move on, we have our last deck, which actually I didn't realize that it was so
It's
similar to mine. That it's actually the exact 12 that Tian Ding posted. Is that
Oh,
is that where you
cool.
got that, Nate?
well, I've been bouncing back and forth. Like I saw what you posted. I always watch what Safety Blade posts. I've played around with the deck and the different four cost cards. I mean, essentially the reason why I'm not running Absorbing Man is because I don't have it. It's pinned right
Mhm.
now. And I tried a handful of different ones. Honestly, I really don't like Enchantress in the deck.
Mhm.
It's awful with Dracula, and the only thing that it's been good for is like you play it on, uh, if you're facing off against a Patriot deck, like okay, or you play it on someone else's Zabu, right? But like it more often than not, it's wasted. I opened up
Mhm.
Giganto this past week, and before Giganto, like I tried Magneto, I tried the Hulk, and they're fine. Um, the power level is a little bit different, but I had them and they worked just fine.
Mhm.
And the deck is really solid. I like it. I tried also playing a ramp deck and I had fun with it,
Like the
but
electro ramp
yeah,
deck with Odin.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Ramp's pretty decent.
And it's
Solid.
fun, but it's hard to play. And Doctor Octopus is such a hard card to play. Without like if you
He's
play it
feast or
wrong.
famine, like he either wins you the game or he loses you the game is how I feel about that card.
But I mean, it was really cool with Electro to
Hmm.
play like a Doom on 5 followed by a
Odin.
Odin on 6
Yeah.
or whatever. But I had more luck with this. It's just you got to draw a Sunspot early. You got to draw Zabu early. The
Hmm.
math has to add up where you have to play Sif and then hope that you get Ghost Rider. Um, and there's a little bit of MMR to it, but not bad. But yeah, I've essentially been playing the same thing as you both. Actually, like I've been very enchanted with Enchantress. I think that I'm gonna swap it out for Moon Girl until
Oh yeah,
I am able
easy,
to get
easy swap.
enable yeah, until I'm able to get
Well,
Absorbing Man. Because
actually,
then it gives you some more variability.
I think you might be better with I forgot this is a Dracula deck, so you might not actually want Moon Girl because of Dracula, because it's kind of important to like be lowering your hand. But one card, so this deck, like for anyone who's in pool three, like this deck and Blues deck, these are the decks you want to work towards, because like I think it's legitimately the best, like relatively free to play friendly deck in the game by a significant margin. And I think Nate's pretty on the money about Enchantress. Like, I thought it would be better than it was, and it's really
It's
just not.
it's pretty
Uh,
bad. And then when you discard it with Dracula, it sucks.
Although in
yeah,
fairness, if you replace it with Absorbing Man, that becomes at issue as well. But
Well, but
it just
you've got the
combos better with
Spider-Man
your deck,
combo.
right?
yeah, I
Like,
guess you get it out of hand
combos a lot
more
better. But you should
consistently.
put in if you have it. Fuck, what's it called? The we used to meme on it all the time.
One
Crossbones,
130,
crossbones.
132.55, Nate. I'm just
Uh,
saying so that it's just easier to find.
yeah.
I did it myself.
Uh,
Crossbones. You know what?
I
I
A
would
lot of
second
people
so
hit
that.
infinite with
I'll
crossbones
tell you
in
what,
lists like this. I've
I
seen.
experimented with a bunch of versions, and I was just looking at 4 cost cards and what are the good
Mhm.
4 costs. I tried Crossbones, and I really liked it actually. I also tried
Rock
Rock
slide.
guy, Rock
Rock
Yeah,
slide.
Slide,
some people run
and it's
him
fine.
in
It's fine
non-Darkhawk decks,
too.
and it's okay. Like Dara hit infinite on. He did like a Dino version, Dino Zabu, no Darkhawk, but he still ran Rock Slide and he liked it. So that
Puts
was,
2 rocks in the deck. Kind of like if you
So I
draw a
yeah.
pulled
rock, it's
out.
brutal.
I pulled out Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, and Enchantress, and had Crossbones, Rock Slide, and I think I just had one other big um, minion on the top end for discarding,
Hmm.
and it was great. And honestly, sometimes like I've had times where like I don't use Shang-Chi,
Hmm.
and then if it gets discarded, it's a bummer. So, but it's nice to be able to like nuke their stuff. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
You know
especially with how
what, Nate?
popular this deck is.
You should go
Like,
look at Snapzone's version of this deck. They basically say Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, Enchantress, bad. You want to put consistent. Basically, you're tripling down on the Dracula game plan, so that you're always going to hit something good off Dracula. So the idea is you basically play. You cheat out a big guy with Jubilee. You cheat out a big guy with Ghost Rider. You always get a good hit off Drac. It makes it more consistent. The thing is that
Oh,
in
the
the
zero version? Is that the one you're talking about?
no, it's the Here, let me pull it up. I probably
I'm
should have
still
had it.
on the original one that you tweaked from Safety Blade with the Magneto, and I really like it. Though I do think Sunspot. It's probably correct to cut something for Sunspot, but I
Sunspot
love
just
the
feels
Magneto.
bad. Sunspot dies so easy to Killmonger that like
True.
you can't bank on it.
Well, that's why you have the
So
armor, and because like armor is so needed for Shang-Chi now. I think if you're gonna run Sunspot in the Zabu big deck stuff, I think armor is like a must. Just because like I'm looking at my old version, and that didn't have it either. But like
I
Shang-Chi is just so popular.
Yeah, I basically yeah, I didn't worry about Shang-Chi as much in the version I was playing because of the Spider-Man nonsense. If I was to cut Spider-Man, I
What did
probably would get
they?
armor in there. I'm looking
Did
for
you
their
post the
version.
list? Yeah, because like
Here it
I'm
I
is.
can't
wondering
Here
if
it
find
they're
it.
is.
Yeah.
cutting
Yeah,
for this stuff.
I'm sharing my screen. You can see it on my
Oh,
screen. So
okay.
they're running Sunspot, Zero, Armor, Zabu, Dracula. They are running Shang-Chi and Enchantress. That's interesting. Typhoid Mary, Red Skull, Chavez,
Yeah,
Magneto in the Infinite. You
I don't love
Magneto
this one.
Magneto and Infinite. Sorry, Magneto and Giganto are kind of interchangeable. Some people
Hmm.
really like to run Magneto because they feel it soft counters like the Zabu Darkhawk decks because it moves all those cards. So I
I
And
can
can
it, you
mess
know
with
what
them
else
quite
it
a bit.
works really well with actually, and it you have to have looked and see if you have preference or not. But Wong, it works great
Oh
if they're
yeah,
if
yep.
they've
You
got a
just
Wong
Zoinker
setup.
Wong.
Wow,
Uh,
that's you just zoink their Wong. There you go.
yep.
That's really
Yeah,
funny.
so Magneto, I'm a big Giganto fan, but I think that
Same.
it's interchangeable.
The
Um,
problem with Giganto is if for whatever reason you don't pull it somewhere, that like Magneto, you can just play it,
Yeah.
and
so
because
Giganto, you're a little
Giganto
more
can only play
forced.
on the left, right?
So it's funny you say that.
Mhm.
To me, in my experience with playing the deck, if you're basically playing a 6 cost card on turn 6, you're probably losing. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I genuinely believe it because on turn 6, what I want to be doing is I want to be doing like Ghost Rider Shang-Chi or like some kind of like
Big swings.
big some kind of swing, or I've already won the game because I locked out the lanes with
The Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
stuff.
I think it's interesting because I think that when you look at the deck, there's really kind of there's really a the definition of control and aggro in Snap have a very fine line, and I think in Snap these kind of labels are somewhat non-helpful. I view it
Yes.
like this: there's two types of decks in Snap: proactive and reactive. The way Snap Zone has it built with Red Skull and Typhoid Mary, that is proactive. You're basically saying, I'm going to win the game by putting as many stats on the board as possible, and you can't keep up. In a lot of ways, the deck that you played, Zombies, while it had some reactive elements, the game plan is quite proactive in that it vomits out a lot of stats efficiently.
Yeah.
The way I had it built is I leaned more into the reactive element. I'm really reliant on Spider-Man,
Hmm.
Absorbing Man, Shang-Chi, and oftentimes if I just try to outstat someone, I'll lose. Although you can argue then why am I not running Magneto because that's maybe more in line with the reactive piece, and maybe Magneto is more objectively correct. I don't know. But it's the same deck, but very two different mindsets in terms of approach. I don't know what's better. Um,
I
and
don't think the one they posted is very good personally. I
you don't think so?
super no. The big thing is I do not like the I do not like the inclusion of like the zero big stuff package. I think you're trying to merge two different decks when you don't need to. Like I feel like if you want to go that direction, you should be focusing on like a Shuri game plan. Maybe even some of the Sauron lists have been doing good with those cards. Like I think if you want to be playing those cards, you want to be playing a different deck because it utilizes them in a much more effective way. Whereas I think in this type of deck, I think there is an argument for playing a more proactive version, but I don't think their version of it, at least the one that you showed me, with Typhoid Mary and Red Skull, is really the right one. I think Like I honestly think the one you got there with and like the original one are some of the best ones. And I mean Nate's is pretty close on the money there too. It's like what, like one card different. Like the core is
Yeah.
the same. Everybody I've seen, like I've seen more people than I can count get infinite with like the core of this deck with like one or two different cards here and there. And I do not see very much Typhoid Mary, and I do not see much Red Skull in all the ones I've seen posted and played against. I just think they aren't bad cards, but I don't think they jive with what this deck wants to be doing better than like the other options. Like maybe if you don't have all the other options or
I would
something.
consider
But
adding armor to it. It
yeah,
doesn't.
especially if you're playing that many big things, I think you kind of need an armor. It's
Yeah,
just so
armor might be
susceptible.
good. It also gives you a turn two play, which is not the worst thing in the world in some situations, like if you don't draw the sunspot.
Hmm.
Also, I'm kind of on the fence. I've been reading a lot, like I've been doing a lot of research on how I want to build my Thanos decks, and
Hmm.
basically the consensus is Magneto is very important in the matchup with or against Darkhawk. But I don't know. I'm still a you saw maybe the Thanos theory craft I posted on Discord.
Hmm.
I slammed in the Lady Sif Dracula like Ghost Rider Giganto package in there, so I'm probably still gonna try it out. But this is the thing that I think we struggle with in Snap is we don't have a lot of good data,
Hmm.
and the data that we do get kind of sucks. So who
Yeah, it's
knows
just
what's
very
right?
limited, right? And there's also we don't have as objective ways of measuring stuff. Like the trackers tell you the locations, but when we're looking at raw data for how decks perform, I mean, in theory, I guess it could even out, but maybe it doesn't, right? Especially when we're working with more limited sample sizes. So
Well,
like, how do you really know
Well,
if
how do you know? On the subject of data,
Mhm.
the chief data scientist at Second Dinner sometimes gets on Twitter and posts decks and then deletes his tweets after. I find that really interesting. But
Maybe too many people were playing it. You
well,
didn't want to get
you don't want to
nerfed.
influence things, but like Tianding, he used it as in Hearthstone too. Like here are decks that are
Yeah,
performing
did
well,
Mercs ones too.
and he did it for Mercs once, and we're like, could we have it again? And it was like, no. They never
Well, I
said
think
no.
he left after
Yeah,
that.
he,
Like, I
he
think
did.
he left Blizzard because he was at Blizzard when Mercs launched. He joined Second Dinner like later
Yeah.
than like the initial people.
So looking at his three decks, I honestly the first two I think are not good. They didn't really inspire. Although they do have cards that maybe more people have accessibility to, so but the last deck, that's when I changed things up, and I was like, having Sunspot in there made a lot of good sense to me. So I think that what he was saying here, if I may try to interpret, is that hey guys, you could have really good performing decks on ladder as so long as they run Zabu.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
it's
yeah, and so that's what we see here. And the last deck is identical to the one that Nate was running. And I don't know how much exposure people, how exposed, you know, his tweets are, but I have that Giganto variant. I purchased it in the store because I'm a bit of
a
a
good one.
Giganto fan. I know it's terrible, but Zabu is a really strong card. So I know we've been on for a while, and we have one topic left, and this is my fault because I didn't want to prepare for the show like I did last time to keep us on time. So sorry guys. But I want to talk a little bit about Zabu. But before we have a
Hmm.
conversation, I want to show a few visuals. So the first one is from our resident host here, Zombies Goes Nom
Hmm.
Nom. And you posted this meme of Homer Simpson at the bar. Is this from the Flaming Moe's episode?
I think
I
so. I
think
think so.
so.
Yeah.
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 And basically everyone in the bar is either a Silver Surfer, a Zabu, and you
There are a
have
few
one or two
leaders.
leaders in there. Although, frankly, at this point, I think that the meme's a bit out of date. You could just put Zabu
Yeah.
and we'll cross the board here. But here, let me read your words. because I think that it gives good context. So you wrote, "This is what it felt like pushing to infinite this season in Marvel Snap. We know another leader change is likely, though I didn't even see him a ton as the picture shows. I really hope they do something to Zabu. The card has made the meta much worse, in my opinion." And a lot of people are really, I think, defensive of Zabu, but most of the top players that I know kind of have a different opinion. So here's another meme that was posted by one of the best Marvel Snap players, KM Best. I don't know if you saw this one.
Mm-hmm.
"What gives people
It's a good
feelings
one.
of power? Money, status, or playing Zabu on turn 3? And he wrote, "Me for the last month in Snap." And then finally, we have Safety Blade. I always joke, how do I know what the nutty deck is? I'll just copy Safety Blade. So Safety Blade, this isn't a meme, but he wrote that the climb was horrendous this month, and playing in Infinite is not much better. I don't think this card, Zabu, is unbeatable, but is basically in every archetype now in my group of opponents. I said it almost day one, this card is not balanced." So
Mm-hmm.
we made a prediction last month when we got together for episode 3 of Born to be Cosmo. And our prediction was Zabu was, you know, Zabu was going to be good. And it
Mm-hmm.
turns out that Zabu is better than good. It is the card that defines our play experience. And
Yep.
I've seen a lot of people posting, like, what do I want nerfed? And I see Wave and Arrow and Silver Surfer, and it's like there's only one card for me that really kind of stands out above the rest. Now, that's not to say I wouldn't want to see other balance changes, but I mean, if you were just targeting the broken thing, Zabu's the broken thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to say it, but um, I think that I share Safety Blade's sentiments. I share your sentiments. I share KM Best sentiments. I think that it's just ridiculous. You have all these 4 cost cards. You're cutting them in half, and well, it just
Yeah.
makes for
It
a very polarizing experience.
It's so like I have to run and let the dog out really quick, but I want to just say one like quick thing about Zabu, and the biggest issue I think I have with this card is it creates more non-games than I've ever experienced in Marvel Snap, and it's just like, did I get Zabu on turn 3? Okay, there's a very good chance I'm going to win the game. If I didn't, all right, I'm going to retreat. And before you weren't seeing as many retreats on turn 3 or usually not turn 2, but usually turn 3, sometimes turn 4 after they pop off um, with their Zabu stuff. But like they're happening so much, and there's so many mirrors that like the games are just ending way earlier, and it doesn't feel like there's not as much room for decisions. Like I didn't make a decision, to play around what my opponent's doing. They drew their good card. Their deck got super amped up because of it, and a lot of times I lose, and so I just get out and move on. And it feels like I'm flipping coins a little bit with how often the uh, the the you run into other Zabu decks. And I think it's just a feel bad
So
experience.
these comments are all kind of from a certain segment of ladder, and obviously it's
I'll
what we
be right back though.
experience. Yeah, no problem. I am curious, Nate. So like, I mean, you're still pretty high up on the ladder. Like I said earlier, like, I think that we oftentimes tunnel in on a very specific segment. What is your experience with Zabu like
Oh
against
yeah,
it?
no, it's the same,
It's the
right?
same. I figured as
If
much.
you get it, now you it I'm not gonna concede if I don't get it on 3, but like if you don't, you have to hit it like 3 or 4, and if you don't, your chances of winning go down like significantly, and it's just yeah, it's super hard to win without it. The card is like Armor saying, it's like Bran, right? It's
Mm.
one of those that's in every deck, and it's just it's super strong. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of everywhere too, and it's like, oh, this again.
Let me
But
ask you, when you're playing and someone snaps you on turn 3, do you typically get out or stay in?
it depends on what I've got. Like if I feel like I can still win it, then um sometimes I'll do it, but I don't know. It's tricky.
If you asked me before Savage lands, is it objectively correct to leave the game when someone snaps you on 1 or 2? I'd say no. You got a full game to play out. Like, sure, you're gambling 2 cubes instead of 1, but so are they. But Zombies is right. Like, people will snap you on 1 if they have effing Zabu in their hand. And now that you know that, I believe it's objectively correct to leave unless you believe you can match that potential power level. And so that's what a non-game is. A non-game is if we're playing a game and I have Zabu in my hand on turn 1 and you don't, and I press the snap button, being correct that it's to leave, that is a
Yeah.
non-game almost caricaturized, and that's not fun. At least with Silver Server, a card that people complain about a lot, it's played on the last turn, so if you're waiting to get yours, the likelihood that you'll draw it is high. There's a lot more it's just Silver Server was pushed the power level pretty high. Zabu kind of just took it out of orbit. Interestingly enough, next month the Battle Pass card MODOK, I don't think it's going to be anywhere nearly as good as Zabu or Surfer was, and in a
No,
way
I
I'm
don't think so either.
kind of
I'm
relieved.
okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So
yeah,
so I've played a lot of games where like both players are playing Zabu, and so like I'm not just gonna snap quit. It kind of depends on like can I play around their thing or can I still make it work? And so I don't know, but it's one of those where like I'm kind of tired of seeing this card in every single deck.
yeah.
And
So,
the people who decided not to get the rewards
oh
track or
my
whatever are gonna
goodness,
regret it, you know?
yeah. I mean, this goes to Pool 5 next month, and assuming they don't nerf it, yeah, it's rough. I mean, this card, the way that I said it was, if you're playing to win, right? If climbing is your main objective, you have to have a very good reason for not running Zabu
Yeah.
because you are putting yourself at a disadvantage, and that's not okay. I think so. I'll tell you how I think they should nerf it. And it's a harsh nerf, but I think it's an important one. Making Zabu a 3-0 ain't gonna change a thing. You have to increase its cost. You have to make it 4. And that probably kills the card. But you said it yourself, Nate. You have to play Zabu on 3 or 4 for it to be viable. So now you play it on 4, okay? And that means you get the cheat on turns 5 and 6. I don't think that's so unreasonable when you look at other comparable strategies. Yes, it's a lot worse. Yes, it won't be top tier anymore, but I don't think that you can adjust the card's power. Other people have suggested, well, only make it the first card costing less. Maybe that's okay. I think that that's a somewhat inelegant solution that generally speaking, is not how they tend to approach card fixes, but who knows? There's going to be balance updates. Do you think that on the 31st, when they announce the balance updates, Zabu's going to be among the cards that are hit?
Um, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised though because it's so good.
You know, it reminds me of Hearthstone, right? Like Doctor Boom was the card that everyone complained about, like leader, but it's like there's always another card that's a lot more pernicious and damaging than what generally is what most people complain about.
I actually think that they might wait because the pool 4 cards are going down to 3. And so it's going to make a couple other decks a little bit more accessible. So maybe they wait a month. I don't know.
But the decks that are going to be made more accessible, I don't think are actually especially good in Chizabu. The Red Skull,
Yeah.
Arnim Zola stuff. Red Skull was my last pool 3 card. I tried playing Arnim Zola, like Red Skull, and I played maybe 3 games, and I was like, nope. Just it was like going into battle with Spitwads. I don't know what they're gonna do for balance. I'll tell you, if they hit Silver Surfer but not Zabu, I will actually be upset.
Oh,
If
I'd be pissed. I'd be very unhappy.
Yeah, we were
They changed Cypher and not
speculating.
Zabu.
We were speculating if Zabu's going to get hit on the next balance update.
Probably not, is my guess. I
Hmm.
don't think they will. I don't think they'll nerf a card from the past this quickly, especially because there's a good chance this patch has been finalized beforehand. Because this is the patch where they're adding battle mode and card rotation. So, like, it sounds like we might get a bigger balance patch than the last time, but I'd be surprised if they altered this card much because they probably didn't have a lot of time to see how it played out. Like they didn't have a whole month, right? Like
Maybe they hit Zabu's power. They give it a very light touch just to knock it down a peg
oh,
before
that
they
would be
release.
insulting. Honestly,
I
I think
think
people would be more mad about that than if they did
yeah.
nothing to Zabu.
I would
Like
like them to
look at Leader.
increase. Yeah, I would
Look how
like them
mad
to.
people got.
I'd like them to increase Zabu from a 3 cost to a 4 cost card, and I understand that's
Yeah.
going to effectively kill it, but at a certain point,
I think it would still see play. I think the card is
really at
busted enough.
4, you think it would still
Yep.
see play at 4? Well, at least people,
Yep.
the biggest change with it being a 4 cost as opposed to 3 is that, like, I'll tell you, if there's a couple things that get me really riled up when playing Snap. People
Hmm.
snapping on one is one of them. I mean, we've co-opted, so you know how I am. Like I will
Yeah,
start
that's me too.
I will start to swear and bang my fists on the table when people do it because it's objectively stupid, right? It's basically saying like, it's like if I grab you and jump off a tall building, it's like let's die together, like that's what snapping on one is like. You'll see more snaps on 4, which is generally a better kind of snap point or a more traditional one than 3. But anyways, I hope they do something about it.
A whole
I
nother turn, right? Like if it goes
yeah.
to 4, but the crazy thing is like the card is still kind of busted at 4 because you still get 2 turns of cheating mana on 4 drops, right? So like let's say they do push it to 4, you
You
still
might build
get
it a little differently, but yeah, yeah.
you still get the discount. You still get the only thing that's different is like you don't snowball as hard, which I think is kind of the direction you want to take this card. Is you want to make it less of a ridiculous snowball because it's just not an easy card to answer. By the time you can answer it most of the time, they've played 2 4 drops. And if you're playing an Enchantress, there's a reason that Enchantress feels so bad. Rogue, slightly better, but still not the greatest. It's because you're reacting after they've already gotten value. So it's like you're playing an understated card as a tech card that's going to be worse in other matchups. And it's not even winning you the game against what it's supposed to be good against. Or even just putting you in an advantageous position. Like there have been so many times I've dealt with Zabu on 4, lost the game still. So
Well, we can go on at length for Zabu for some time, but I think our feelings are quite clear.
yeah,
Just
please
doing
change it. Just change the card.
just doing a check on time.
more.
We're kind of approaching the 2 hour mark. I think that this kind of is a signal that when we do this next time, I'll probably have to have a more rigorous schedule, which is fine. I just really didn't feel like doing it this time. That said, I think it was a great conversation.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, we covered a lot.
yeah, we did cover a lot of ground. I think it'll be really interesting to regroup post update, post
Hmm.
Modoc release, kind of see how things have changed. Right now, I think it's fair to say that the honeymoon is over. We've got a warping card in Zabu, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. So we're going to leave it there. For those who join us for Born to Be Wild, don't worry, this isn't a replacement of it. Born to Be Wild is still scheduled to broadcast every Friday at approximately 6 p.m. Pacific time. We do this show irregularly, ad hoc, although it's starting to kind of coalesce to once a month, but no promises there. So just going to quickly wrap up. Zombies, doing a lot of content creation for Snap. My favorite personally. Where can folks find you if they want to learn more about your material?
So yeah, you can find me over on YouTube and Twitter, Zombies Go Nom Nom, Zombies with an S, and here on Twitch, Zombies with a Z. I took some time off this month in part because of the meta, because like I don't want to play a ton on stream if the game's frustrating me. So I'm hoping with battle mode and the balance changes, I'll be getting back more into the swing of things with the new patch. I'm really excited for the patch. So yeah, definitely gonna be doing content around that, and I'll probably be putting up a guide on the Darkhawk She-Hulk deck in the next few days, hopefully. So if you want to see how that works out,
Abuse
you
it.
can check that out. Yeah, use it while you can. Because, I mean, who knows? Maybe they change stuff and it's not as good after the patch, but we'll see.
Mr. Wolf, where can people
Yeah.
find you?
You can find me on Twitter at NateWolfeTCG, NateWolfeTCG. Also, you can find me as part of Born to Be Wild, a wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast every Friday here at on Twitch, twitch.tv/Born to Be Wild HS at 6 p.m. Pacific ish. And everything related can be found on our website, which is borntobewildhs.com. It's great hanging out with you guys and talking about Snap, though. Really had a good time and kind of laugh here that we all are talking about the same deck, the different versions of the same thing based on our collection levels. And it's still really great. I mean, I love that as a relatively free to play player, which is so abnormal to me from a Hearthstone perspective, that I'm playing a near identical deck to what you guys are playing at the more like, I don't know, upper echelons, right? The deck, the core is still very similar, and it's a lot of fun and really strong. So very cool to see that, and that was coincidental, that Blue was
Yeah.
like, hey, bring
Yeah.
the deck that you've been playing, and we just did, and we're all playing the same different versions of the same thing, which is really funny.
Yeah.
Tells you something.
Yeah, we
Yes.
independently came to basically the same conclusion. Just another addition, the Born to Be Wild Discord, while primarily Hearthstone focused, does have a small but fairly active Snap section, and
Real.
I've been spending
It
quite a
really
bit of
does,
time
actually,
there.
yeah.
And so I would encourage everyone to check it out. There are a lot of really good players and some
Oh
great
God,
people there.
Pigpen is a monster. It's just an
Yeah.
absolute monster. So shout out to Pigpen if he's watching or listening.
He
Like,
has
oh
the
Yeah.
my God.
spicy brews. I run into him sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm terrified of seeing him on ladder because I know it's not going to be Darkhawk, but I know it will not be to my benefit. Finally, if you want to interact with me, Twitter for now, while it's still around, is the best place. Twitter.com/Blutrane. I'm also active on the Born to Be Wild Discord, so you can always DM me or ping me there. And like I said, I think we'll be back probably some point in February to talk about the new cards, new pass, balance patch. So look out for that. We tend to go live irregularly, but we'll try to give some notice in the Discord and on Twitter. Until then, I thank you so much for joining us, listening to us ramble on for a little over 2 hours. So with that, we'll wish you a good night, good snapping, and good hunting out there. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye,
Peace.
everybody. Take it easy.